Earlier this year, we all went through, let's just say, an unfortunate American hypercar roller coaster of emotions. If you don't know what I'm talking about, here's an 8-second recap. Even though we all thought the American hypercar hype was over, the production Hennessey Venom F5 has just been revealed and it's on its way. Here's everything about the production car, Hennessey's somewhat surprising world record plans, and a very important point about the company towards the end. Let's get into it. Now, I do want to make sure this video explains the car in an unbiased way, but it's easy to look at this whole situation like
bullshit. Bullshit. Derivative.
First, I'll go through the specs, which I have to say are pretty wild. The twin-turbo V8 goes through a 7-speed automated transmission to push the 3,000-pound car to crazy speeds.
Hey, I've seen this one. This is a classic.
This one's a little bit different, though. It's a 6.6-liter V8 nicknamed Fury, which is said to make 1,817 horsepower at 8,000 RPM and just under 1,200 pound-feet of torque at 5,500 RPM.
Naughty, you teasing me, you naughty.
The turbochargers have 3D printed titanium housings and give the engine 23 psi of boost. They say the car can go from 0 to 62 miles an hour in 2.6 seconds, which is tire limited, as well as other insane times that I'll put up on the screen. The gearing is set up for a top speed of around 334, and Hennessey says their aero engineers have estimated a number which is much higher. Because it was so much higher, he didn't really want to put it out there.
All right, then, keep your secrets.
The 3,053-pound weight is similar to the 1-to-1, but the car has a little under 500 more horsepower, so it's a pretty big difference. The F5 concept had a drag coefficient of 0.33, but they realized that the back end needed more downforce and the front lip caused too much drag, so the production car now has a coefficient of 0.39, which ain't too shabby. Their track pack will include a separate rear wing and more optional downforce. Moving to the interior, I say it looks really good, even though it's obviously focused on functionality and being light. The only thing is the steering wheel looks pretty cool, but I feel like we shouldn't keep trying to reinvent the wheel, you know? I'd rather not be missing the top third of it while I'm trying to drive. Hennessey said their new company created specifically for this car and future projects will only be making around 24 F5s. He wants it to remain very exclusive, unique, and American.
Hell yeah, brother.
About half of the 24 production cars have already been bought, but they say it might take them around 3 years to build and get them all out to customers. When they were designing the car and thinking about what they wanted it to represent, he said they wanted it to emulate the McLaren F5. I think he meant in the way that that was their golden car, and it proved to everyone that they had a lot in store for the industry. Although Hennessey did clearly tell car and driver, we have no desire, plan, or intention of building a car with a greater level of power to weight or absolute performance than the F5.
They disappoint me.
For the top speed run they'll eventually do, they plan to use NASA's 3.2-mile-long strip in Florida. While the car's quoted top speed is around 311, he said he's not sure if they'll even match Bugatti's 304 speed because they had 6 miles to work with. He said they might be able to hit around 300 more or less, but he also added, we don't want the F5 to be just a one-hit wonder and go a top speed number and that's all it's good for. After that, he also said, the whole purpose of going to NASA and doing these other tests is not to set records and flex for the world, the media, and Top Gear. It's really about making our car the best car it can be and making our car the safest and most enjoyable car for our clients to be able to drive and experience. I don't know about you, but I'd call that a hard shot at SSC.
Expose him! Expose him!
He made it a point to add that the car they use for the top speed test will be exactly the same as the ones they make for customers. Also for the run, they'll be using Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s, which is the same that the Agera RS used a few years ago. In order to get to a top speed, they're going to be testing in increments to see what the tires can handle and monitoring each one individually. They're going to test at a certain speed, see what the load is like on the tire, and then go back to Michelin and work with them to see how things look. He said if they get around 500 kilometers per hour, he's not sure really what's the purpose of going past that, but admits that he's only saying that now and who knows what'll happen. I do really have to point some things out though after a video I made a while back about Hennessey's C8 Corvette. When I posted that one, someone commented saying I was supporting a bad company that steals from people and stuff like that. At the time, I had no clue what they were talking about, so I just kind of sat there for a second like,
what in the goddamn?
I did look into it and respond to that person, but there were a good amount of older complaints and even ex-employees saying the company had terrible practices with their customers' cars and money. The employees claimed funds were misused, customers' deposits would be used to build other customers' cars, subpar parts were passed off as top of the line, they had tactics to get out of refunding people, and they consistently failed to deliver some customers' cars, especially foreign ones. There are even a few emails between a customer and the company that show how desperately they wouldn't give back a refund and wouldn't return the car. Obviously, I haven't worked with them at all, so I can't confirm any of this, but I think it's good to know, and if the company really is that messed up, I'd rather not endorse them. This way, I can tell you what I've seen and heard, and you guys can decide how you feel about it. The other important thing with this is I think the whole thing was really dampened by the Tuatara's messed up record attempt a couple months ago and how much it hurt people's trust.
I trusted you!
Some people were waiting for the F5 to come and hit the top speed to kind of save the American supercars in a way. But in reality, the two cars are so similar and are categorized together. Most people probably look at them exactly the same, and now I bet a lot of people are way less excited for yet more news on some 1,000+ horsepower car from a smaller American company trying to get into the hypercar club. I think the way John Hennessey talks about his top speed expectations is really well handled, and the top speed definitely isn't his main concern. They've also stated if they attempt any records, they're going to be as transparent and organized as possible. Either way, I think it's going to be incredibly hard for those companies to get real redemption for that. I don't want to completely drop the idea of the Tuatara's next run, even though it probably won't happen, but we'll just have to wait and see.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Tell me down in the comments, what do you think of Hennessey, the F5, and future possible world records? From the numbers at least, I think we can definitely expect an average of 300 both ways if the tires are up to it. As always, if you enjoyed this video, slap that like button and subscribe to Liberty Drives for weekly American car content and news. Thank you guys all for watching. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you next week. Have a great day.